Newkirk Precinct.
That's right, we are on Newkirk Precinct, and down at the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have our red Protoss player fighting for his WCS Premier life. It is Alicia.
Woo woo. Yeah.
And his opponent down in the bottom left-hand corner, also fighting for his WCS Premier life. He lost the first set against Hart. I guess so did Alicia. It's MajOr. That's right, both these players have something in common. They've lost a Hart today. Maybe they didn't have enough heart themselves.
I know Alicia wants to come back to California for WCS North America Finals. Of course, for Premier League round of 16, you get all the way over here to California. A trip over here. He loves the California beaches.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Which include you, correct?
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. How dare you?
Anyway, now, I have a question for you. Riddle me this, Batman. We saw unconventional play from Alicia against, or not terribly unconventional play against Hart, but still different enough that clearly they were practice partners. Clearly he wanted to throw his opponent off a little bit. Now he goes up against MajOr. That very technical I play, what is the meta I play, what is technically considered perfect right now in MajOr. How do you think Alicia is going to adapt?
Okay, let me put my Ben Affleck face on right now.
Okay.
I think that he's just going to play the same High Templar strategy that was successful in Game 1 and Game 2. And he won't do any like tricky things. Like he's going to be able to play a little bit more abusive. A lot of times he was like, okay, well, there could be 8 to 9 minute pushes because those are theoretically incorrect, but they're punishing builds by Terran if you're not going to get any sentries. I think this is a position where Alicia can just skip out altogether in sentries and just go for tech, go for those high quality units and only get maybe 1 sentry for that Guardian Shield in the first engagement. Those are the main things that he can do. MajOr is just so predictable. I feel like Alicia will be cutting corners a lot more than against his previous opponent.
Well, there are a couple of differences already in the builds that we see here. Or in Alicia's build, I guess I should say. He decided to skip double gas before Cybernetics Core. He did that in all 3 of the games in the set against Hart. And he decides to just go 3-on-1 gas quick warp gate tech, still just as early of a mothership core, but a little bit less gas income for now.
He did purchase the Zealot, but canceled it right at the end in case there was an engineering bay block. I like that, very comprehensive. Mothership core will pop out here. It's a little bit later than we normally see, but it should be able to, well, not defend against that probe kill, but the Reaper will have to skedaddle.
Skibbity-doo-bop-a-daddle out of there. I actually work as a jazz scat singer on the side.
Really?
Yeah, just in case you guys know.
I'm the male Ella Fitzgerald. That's what people have said.
Wow. I actually think that's a high compliment, to be perfectly honest. Ella Fitzgerald is quite a voice.
It's Ella Fitzgerald and Bill Cosby at the same time.
And Bill Cosby, man, all the compliments.
I'm pretty good scatter, man.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll have to have a showdown later on.
Okay.
I won't be able to hold any tones, but
okay.
mine'll just sound like I like to think I'm pioneering scat rap. Essentially, is what it is. There's no intonation. It doesn't jump up and down. It just stays the same. All right, guys. So things are pretty normal. Alicia is going down the robo route right now. We haven't seen any sort of inclination of that forge quite yet, or +1 armor. So things are being switched up just ever so slightly. And there's the Twilight Council.
Wow, that's actually very surprising. This might be Dark Templar drop. No, it can't be Dark Templar. Shut up, Andre. This might be...
We always hope it's Dark Templar drop,
yeah, though. I don't know what this could be. This is a really weird build. I actually feel like Alicia might have forgotten the Forge or this really fast blink. Kevin, I'm confused. I don't know. What do you need a Twilight Council for this early?
You know, it's weird to me, though. If he decides to go for some sort of like a big blink play here, he can certainly put on a lot of pressure, but MajOr's the kind of player who won't die to something like that necessarily. Usually just kind of when a player outplays in the entire game, but... And there's Dark Templar.
Dark Templars.
So maybe your first inclination was right. We still have that robotics facility up. We'll see if 200 minerals goes into a war prism.
Interesting. It definitely will. The reason why I was saying it might not be Dark Templars is because normally you go Twilight Council, Robotics Facility, and then Dark Shrine.
Yeah.
And that way it times out a lot better. Here it's a little bit more comprehensive where you can defend against a lot of plays with the Observer out, but normally, I mean, you're going to... I don't know. Well, we'll see.
All right,
We'll find out.
That Widow Mine is going to be able to make its way into the main, and I only think it took out one probe there. No, it looks like MajOr did manage to snag 3 altogether, so a little bit of a gain for him. He tried to do something sneaky. There was a really good positioning of the mothership core, actually, from Alicia sitting on the high ground. We'll talk about that in a second, though, as drop round 2 is actually making its way in. This Widow Mine hasn't been able to lock onto anything yet. There, the shot finally goes off, and it snags one more probe off to the left-hand side. So these drops have actually been pretty decent so far, and I believe that Dark Shrine was picked up on that's
nice.
Being constructed as well.
Yep. Most certainly. And more importantly, the mine was actually salvaged over there. The natural mine was, I think, killed off, I do believe. Yes, it was.
Yes.
But as it stands right now, the Dark Templar harass shouldn't do anything. It's only going to take a little bit of map control, but not a lot from here. MajOr has a very clear way to play out this map. He can just get a 3rd command center, which he already is about to finish, mass up to 200, or at least when he has a good army composition, and then push out for the win, knowing he has just such a fantastic advantage. Dark Templar is doing no damage whatsoever. Nicely done. Wow. How many kills is that? 8.
Yeah. Pretty well done there. Ends up snagging a couple of Zealots alongside that as well. Now, the missile turrets are just getting dropped down, so there is going to be a little bit of time here where these DTs could get in and do some damage. Is there energy on that command center, though, for... Yes, there is. So we do have enough for a couple of scans, so it looks like MajOr definitely knew that this was coming and is taking the necessary precautions to make sure he doesn't take any damage.
This should deal 0 damage, and getting that many Dark Templars is a big problem going into that mid-game, end-game stage. You still have no AoE. You can even do an SCV pull and it being so effective. Viking will scout out this one warp prism that's going to force the hand of Alicia, and this hand is not a good hand. This is like pocket jacks running into pocket kings.
Oh, that's not good at all, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, each of these Dark Templar represents 250 resources, maybe more importantly 125 gas. So this is a significant loss for Alicia, and he was already pretty far behind in this game with the amount of damage that his opponent had put on so far. Although DT comes right back and snags a couple of kills.
Okay, well, it gets cleaned up. 2 scans, still not worth it. As you said, the 125 gas is just so important in the matchup TVP. Gas is so incredibly important. I can't even stress it enough. That's why all I do is analyze gas timings.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the reason why I have a career, Kevin. If I didn't know gas timings, wouldn't be a caster.
You have a very, very specific niche, though. I'm very happy to have you on board for that. Viking gets picked off. That's a good little pickup for Alicia. Clears the skies for maybe more potential drops later on, or at least it's going to force MajOr to create more Vikings now. But the War Prism stayed alive, and that certainly could provide a problem for MajOr. Sometimes he has a tendency to overcommit just a little bit up at the front, and Alicia could possibly pick him apart from behind. But as it stands, MajOr's playing pretty flawlessly right now. He's keeping up the pressure. He's got a 3rd base and a big advantage.
Yep, and I want you to, guys, the whole time, keep an eye on that top right-hand corner, the supplies. You're going to see a large, or you should see a very large disparity in the coming minutes. As soon as 15 minutes hit around, I think you're going to see like a 50 supply lead for MajOr just because of how the builds worked out. It just, once you get scouted out with those Dark Templars, you're so incredibly far behind. If MajOr plays this out right and constantly makes SCVs, he shouldn't be in a position where he should ever lose the game.
All right, so MajOr's going to make his way up the ramp into the natural now. DT sneaks its way through and actually is going to get out of detection here. Looks like MajOr was able to pick up on that, though. He knows, and this DT's only going to snag a couple of kills. Actually, only 2 SCVs, so once again, not a very cost-efficient trade. Yes, you're denying a little bit of your opponent's mining, but honestly, this is like trying to take a cup of water from the ocean right now. It's not going to affect those water levels all that much.
Definitely not. From here, he knows his opponent, or MajOr knows his opponent is only on 2 base. What do you do when you know your opponent's on 2 base? You just mass a crap load of units. Even put down some bunkers, know exactly what the army composition is so you don't die to just a couple of storms or, you know, of course, a couple of colossus. Get the right composition, and from there, just mass defend and win the game after your 3rd base materializes into a lot of units.
Well, we'll see what Alicia tries to do to make his way back into this. Templar Archives is coming down. He's beginning that Templar switch. But if he takes a slow 3rd here, which he's trying to do, he's going to have a very difficult time defending against this force.
Now, look at the difference. We always saw 12-minute expansions. Now it's a 14-minute expansion. That's severely delayed. That's, if you want to look at just sheer minerals and gas, that's just around 500 gas and 1,200 minerals. That's a lot to be losing right there.
There is one DT in the mix in that little drop, but it looks like it gets picked up on by MajOr immediately, so we can continue to do some damage here, and that'll allow him to reposition his forces at the front if he wants. No, but he even forces out a photon overcharge. That'll make his follow-up push that much more strong if it hits in the next couple of minutes, because only one photon overcharge will be able to be applied.
That's right, and MajOr doing a good job maintaining map control. Of course, he hasn't exercised any map control right now, but what he's doing is putting a little bit of pressure on so that there is forced units back into the main base, just in case there is eventual doom drops coming in. And that gives him even more time, MajOr more time to materialize off his third base. As soon as this third comes up, I expect some sort of huge attack coming out from MajOr. This is looking good.
Hey, Andre.
Yeah?
You want to know how good you are?
How good am I?
At 15 minutes, it was exactly 50 supply difference.
Boom.
There you go. Maths.
Gas timings, bro.
There you go. Gas timings. Key to all great StarCraft casters. Okay, so Alicia's in a really precarious position right now. MajOr's almost maxed. He's got all the relevant forces that he needs. He's got a huge Viking count. He's actually producing 4 at a time. A little slow to Ghost, of course, but he doesn't have to trade the most cost efficiently against this army right now. He just has to put on pressure and deny the third.
Yep. High Templars are on the field. Storm's going to go down, beautifully done, but look at the spread. There's just too much stuff here, and it's because of that third base. Although he is getting pretty good storms, but they're all going to be used up. Vikings are going to drop down, blink, Stalkers blink up, but there's just too much Terran stuff here. Everything gets cleaned up. Alicia will have to tap out of game 1. GG.
Wow, and MajOr is just one